My hair is long. I need to cut my hair. Anyways, I've actually gotten a lot of requests lately asking for a tutorial on how to color grade. So that's exactly what I'm going to do today for you guys. I'm going to show you guys my step-by-step process on how I go from videos looking like this into videos looking like this. I am not a pro colorist in any way. In fact, I think I'm quite the opposite. But anyways, this is how I color grade my videos. Let's get into it. So we're going to be using Davinci Resolve to color grade 3 different scenes. One decently bright scene, something well exposed in my opinion, and a somewhat darker scene. And we're going to see how I kind of go through the steps, just so you guys can have different options when it comes to whatever shot you're doing. So let's get into it. So let's go to our color page here. Here you have our very basic color page, only one node. And Davinci uses a node-based system, whereas I believe Premiere Pro and Final Cut just do it all into one thing. But you can translate all of this pretty easily into Premiere Pro or Final Cut. Anyways, let's get started. So I like to add a few nodes for my workspace here. And so typically what I like to do, I like to add in a color space transform node because I shoot most of my stuff in HLG3, and so you need to convert that into Rec 7 and 9 to get the best looking colors for your picture. So then we have white balance, saturation, and contrast on the next node. And then after that we have our color correction. And then after that, that's when we apply our grades. And then these are two optional steps. We have a glow and film grain. These are very optional, you don't have to do these. But anyways, let's get started with CST. So we're going to go to our library here, look for a color space transform node just to convert our HLG footage into Rec 709. So my color space is Rec 2100. Input gamma Rec 2100 HLG. And then we're going to go to find Rec 709, and that is converted now into Rec 709. Simple as that. And we can now go into our white balance and set it. So I'm going to look for something decently white here. Choose the color picker over here. Let's see if I can get better. Okay, that's better. Okay, cool. So now that is the white balance set. Then we got contrast here. I tend to bring this up just a little bit, not too much, because then it just starts looking a bit strange. Around 1.08 to 1.15 is where I do my contrast. Can go higher depending on how well balanced the image is, but I tend to stick around these values often. And then we have our saturation. I'm going to increase this just a little bit since it's already nicely colored. Color boost as well, same thing. Should increase just a little bit. So now that's our white balance, saturation, and contrast all done. Now it's time to color correct. So a lot of the stuff I do is done using these wheels here. And then we also have the curves tab over here, which I also like to use. So we're going to get started with the curves here. I'm just going to make a decent looking S curve here. So I'm going to bring the highlights up just a little bit. You don't want them too high. And then bring the shadows down as well, until it sees here that it is touching 0. And then I like to mess around with the wheels here just to find the points at which I like for this image. So I think here for this I'm going to bring down the gamma just a little bit, which is kind of like the midtones of our image, just a little bit. And then highlights as well, bring it down just a little bit more, which is gain. And then for our lift, I think we should be fine with lift. I think most of it's touching and looking like true black, so I think that's fine. Okay, so that's kind of where our image is now. So pretty decent, pretty nice looking already. Let's just compare what it looks like without these done. So this is without any changes done to it now, and that is what it looks like after we do all of these 3 steps. Now it's just adding the grade and making sure we know what kind of look we're going for with our picture. So for this one, I'm probably gonna do a little orange and teal kind of look, since we have quite a lot of nice skies here, a lot of oranges, and the wood and the trees here. So we'll bring out the oranges a bit more, make it look nicer. So I tend to not go too heavy on the colors here. I tend to just do it just a little bit by bit, until I think it looks nice. I think less is more, so you don't want to overdo it and go all the way to the extremes, unless that's the kind of look you want. But I think around here looks nice, so just a little bit out there. And say for gamma, I'm gonna bring it somewhat close to the orange, but not too far out, because then it just starts to break apart. So I think there should be just about fine. Turn down the reds just a little bit. And then for our lift, we're gonna bring that over to the teals kind of looking side. This is all just messing around, by the way. A lot of it is just coming down to messing around with the image. But I think here, this looks pretty decent already. So if you guys can see, this is before and then this is after, and if you play this, you guys can see it looks pretty nice already. So those are the main things I do for my grades. Afterwards, it's just optional. If you don't have Davinci Studio, you don't have to do this, but I can show you guys a free way to do it in another video. But today I'm just gonna show you guys how I do my stuff. So next we got glow. I'll put that in there. So when I put glow in, it does kind of blow it out just a little bit. So you're gonna go to shine threshold here and just increase that up to near 0.9. Anything above 0.9 looks alright. And then with spread, you want to spread it out just a bit more. That way it is a lot more even. I tend to mess around with the gain slider, see how bright I can get the glow to look. Because it only affects really the highlights. And gamma, just turn that down in contrast with gain. And the saturation, I like to turn that down just a little bit. And now it looks a little bit more balanced. And then for film grain, so this is what I like to use. When I'm using film grain, I like to use 8mm 50D. I think it just looks very nice and adds in a pretty nice look for it. Opacity, I like to make sure I increase that just so it's kind of over exaggerated. You guys can see it a lot better alongside with the texture and grain size. And then that's pretty much the completed look of this image. Alright, so that's how I would color grade this kind of like typical bright scene image. Let's go over to the next scene and let's go see how I would color grade a somewhat well exposed image. Okay, so here we are in this little field near my house. This is got a pretty well exposed image because you can see the sky pretty clear. There's some darks with me. Let's see what I can do for this. So again, same thing, add a few nodes. So obviously this is shot in HLG3, so we're gonna color space transform this again. Now let us get into our white balancing. So for this is gonna be a bit tricky to white balance since there's not really anything that's truly white. I think we're gonna see what happens if we use, if we use our clouds here, that should be fine, and you can just mess around with sliders a bit more. I think with this, I kind of want the clouds to be a bit more purple, so I'm gonna increase the tint, and I think this should be fine for our image. Then we're going to increase a little bit of contrast, not too much. Around here should be fine, 1.13. And then obviously we have our saturation slide. I don't think I'm going to increase it too much since there's not really much going on in terms of color. So we're going to increase it just a little bit. And that looks decently fine for me. Now let's go into our wheels. So here we have a lot of highlights. So I want to make sure those are well balanced. So I'll bring those down just a little bit and do an inverse S-curve here, and that should do just fine. And then we're going to bring down the gain and bring down the lift here, just so I am more contrasted here between the image, and then bring up the gamma just a little bit. And see, this is already starting to look pretty nice. I think there should be just fine. Looks like a very nice, well balanced image. Alright, next we're going to apply our grade. I think here I'm going to go for like a purple scene, so put some purple in the highlights here. Put some blues in the gamma, and then for contrast we're going to put yellows in the shadows. There's different types of color grades you guys can look up. Personally, Pinterest is a pretty good place to kind of get inspiration from. I think this looks pretty nice. I kind of like this. This is kind of like a retro space theme right here. So without the grade, you guys can see what this looks like, and now with the grade, that's what we're getting here. And then again, we're gonna add some glow, a little bit of glow. Very simple. Put a shine threshold down, put spread up. There you go. And then introduce our film grain. Here we go. Opacity up. Texture and size up. And I think this is pretty nice for our final look. So you guys can see, I think this looks very nice. And yeah, so that's kind of this the final look of the scene. And let's get onto a more darker scene and see what that would look like. Okay, so here we are on a darker scene. So now recently this looks like there's a lot of light rays here and it looks pretty weirdly blown out. We're gonna fix that and make it look a little bit more nicer. So let's go into our white balance here. Pick anything that's white balance. You can't really pick anything that's too bright, otherwise it might not work. So it's good to pick something that's decently well lit and is white to get a good white balance scene. But for this scene, since there's not much going on, I don't think it's gonna matter too much depending on what I'm gonna do. And then I'm gonna increase the saturation by a little bit again and increase a little bit more contrast. I think we're gonna go up to 1.16 should be fine here. Doesn't look too contrasty just yet. So in our image, I'm going to go to our curves tab and just do a little S curve here. That should be fine right there. Okay, so a little S curve there here on our curves. And obviously as you guys see, there's a lot of highlights going around, so we're actually going to bring the gain down just a little bit. I think 0.92 right here looks pretty nicely lit. Alright, and then our lift is also going to go down just to make sure that our darks are being shown pretty well. I think around here should be fine. And then gamma, same thing, bring it down just a little bit more. We don't need to get this to true black since there's a lot of black on the scene already, so there's not much we need to do. So let's get into color grading this. So I think for this scene, we're just gonna do another little orange and teal kind of look. So introduce some yellow, some orange into the highlights, into our gain. And same thing for the gamma. And then with our lift, just bring it down over here to the teal side. And then that should make it stand out a lot more. I'm actually just gonna go over to here, the color warper, and just fix the skin tones of everyone here. So I'm just gonna bring it down slightly, not too much. I think here is pretty nice. I think that works with our skin tones pretty well. And let's see before and after now. So this is before, and here's an after. I think this looks pretty nice. Now we're just gonna add in our glow and our film grade. And that is pretty much us done. So our 8mm opacity up, texture up, gradient size up. And that's our final look.
Everyone in? 1, 2, 3.
But that's pretty much what it takes for kind of like my color grading process. Not much to it. And yeah, if you guys found this video useful, then be sure to let me know what other tutorials you guys want to see from me next. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.